You're tuned into Recovery TV, the voice of hope, with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Discussions and information on addiction and mental health issues. Here's your host with today's guest.
Welcome to another edition of Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Narcan, please get it. It's at CVS, Walgreens, any of the pharmacies have it. URI has it. Put it in your purse. Keep it on you. Take it in at night because the weather makes things happen to this, but we need it to save lives. My guest today is Miss Carol Ann Costa from the Senior Gender Coalition of Rhode Island, and we have an acronym of that, SACRI.
Yes.
How we doing?
We are great. Happy New Year to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you coming on. I greatly appreciate the work that you do for us seniors.
John, we have to talk about
seniors.
Yes, I'm part of that group. We have to talk about that a little bit.
So tell us a little bit about the Senior Coalition.
So the Senior Agenda Coalition, also known now as SACRI, is an organization that started, it grew out of the Grey Panthers. So we had a Rhode Island Grey Panthers chapter. And, they were very active in a lot of legislative and advocacy issues back in the day, notch babies and benefits and all the things that impacted, at the time, we would say senior citizens. And their work in advocacy and education and organizing was, renowned. And then what happened was their charter or the national organization sort of devolved, and the Rhode Island charter sort of did the same thing. And Bill Flynn, who was a predecessor of mine, took over, and they renamed it the Senior Agenda Coalition of Rhode Island, and the mission, remains the same: advocacy, organizing, community outreach, public relations, and public education on issues and matters that impact older adults. So we're older adults now, we're not senior citizens. It's good to be a senior in high school, but it's not so good to be a senior citizen, so we go with older adult.
All right, I'm going to be an older adult, and I'm going to ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Now that we have this older agenda, my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, 65% in 2030 of the people living in Rhode Island will be older adults. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, and that is something that should get everybody to sit up in their chair and take notice. You and I will be part of the largest swath of Rhode Island's population. And that impacts us because when you think of older adults, so what is the definition of an older adult? I guess AARP would say 55. We would say it's 60, right? So there's a great deal of difference between a person who's 60 and maybe a person who's 85 or 90 or 100, right? So within the cohort that is the swath of older adults, the problems, the issues, the concerns that face every other swath of population face older adults, particularly as we age. So yes, and that is a figure that should get people's attention. And I can tell you that I sit on a commission chaired by Representative Lauren Carson, which is currently studying what we call the issues that are going to impact older adults going forward. And it's a wonderful commission, and we're currently working on a multi-sector aging plan, because what we want to be able to do is build in the mechanisms that we need in law and policy to address the aging population within to every agency of state government.
Well, the aging population, food, prescriptions, housing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You have people now who have to make choices on whether to pick up their prescriptions or take their prescriptions, get food, get stuff for their houses, whether it be utilities, whether it be insurance, whatever. It's going through the roof. Is the commission taking a look at the 64-mile radius of this particular issue.
We are, and we have a keen eye as well to making sure that geographically, and look, Rhode Island, as small as Rhode Island is as complex and culturally diverse for a small state, right? So
Right.
we have the rurals, we have the inner city, we have some urban cores that are very, very compact, and the services and the resources and the tools that we use to reach older adults to make sure that they don't have to cut those pills in half,
Right.
or take drastic measures to pay their utilities or their rent or their mortgage, that we are looking at this through all of those eyes, through all of those perspectives, because we live in a unique place, right? We have 39 cities and towns. So those 39 cities and towns, their policies towards serving their older populations are as varied as the 39
Right. It's all
cities and
different.
towns,
Right. Right.
So not everybody has a senior center. And you know, SACRI has been very instrumental in ensuring funding and funding increases for all of those centers that serve our older adults throughout the state. And some of them are not town-run, some of them are, you know, adjacent, run by a nonprofit. But those centers are not only culturally important, they're an important place for our older adults to go to find information, right? Because information is power. And what I'm adamant about as the executive director, I've been in this role now for 17 months. It's the job of my lifetime. I absolutely love this work. But as executive director, one of the things that I am adamant about is, one, we are the voice of older adults at the State House, but also helping Rhode Island's older adults find their voices. And we want to hear those voices, because what we hear and what we get back from the people that we interact with in the various outreaches that we do is important to the policy work, right?
Right.
So that's why we have to be everywhere. We have to be in the rurals. We have to be in the coastal communities. We have to be in the urban core, because all of those situations are as varied as the people who are tackling them.
Right. And people need to get involved.
Yes, they do.
You know, it just can't be you and your staff. It's got to be everybody has to get involved. I mean, I want to talk too, when we come back, after we go on a break, a little bit about substance use and mental health. You know, the liquor stores that I speak to now, their sales are going through the roof with seniors. The people who sell drugs are targeting the senior housing and senior high-rises now, because they can't get their medication because of the opioid crisis, and the doctors don't want to write the scripts because they're in pain. So there's a whole dynamic of these issues going on. And I want to talk more about that when we come back, because we have to go to break so I can pay the bills.
Absolutely.
So you're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back after these messages.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, Kodak. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Carol Ann Costa is in the house, the Senior Agenda Coalition, and the acronym is SACRI. So welcome again, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about substance use and mental health with seniors. Isolation, stigma, a lot of suicides now. People don't realize that they can use 988 as a number. Let's talk about that.
So let's talk about that, because it's very important. I firmly believe that the spate of loneliness and isolation that we're facing in the country, I mean, it impacts the whole of the
Wide
population.
range.
We absolutely. I mean, we have, you know, when I think of the young children and students who came out of COVID, you know, they're battling their own mental health issues as it relates to that, something they faced during that time. But that impacted the other end of the spectrum intensely as well. And it really intensified the feeling of loneliness for a lot of people. They're isolated in their homes. But the other stigma is, as people age, other folks think, oh, it's just because they're old. It's they don't think of them as like maybe battling a mental health issue or intense depression, or something that a behavioral health specialist might be able to treat or address, pardon me, with speaking and talking and therapy and things that can that are there. And you mentioned 988, right?
988.
And also the Samaritans of Rhode Island, who have a phone number that you can call. And I tell people, a lot of people have this image of like you have to be on the ledge of the building with your cell phone in your hand, ready to jump. That's not how it works.
Right.
It's when you're lonely, when you're feeling that depression or that those intense feelings, you can pick up the phone and call those numbers and say, I think I just need someone to talk to. I just need someone to say hello to me today and know that I'm a person, I'm alive, I'm vital, and I just may be trapped in my home.
Right.
And so if we utilize those and we educate the public that those are there for them, that's a good thing. But the alternative side of that is, if those problems are not addressed in a more holistic way, where do people turn?
Right.
Alcohol, drugs, prescriptions that may be in their cabinets that they had a backache, 3 years ago. And these are the things that get people hooked.
Pain. People are in pain.
Mental and physical pain.
We've done a really bad job, the government, in this opioid crisis by demonizing all the doctors. If you're a senior or an elder folk who had rotator cuff surgery, knee replacement, you need pain medication. If you're not given the pain medication that you need to subside the pain, where do they go? They go to the liquor store, they go to outside agencies to get substances to numb the pain. The pendulum swung so far to the left, we got to bring it back to the middle. And the doctors that write scripts, that's one thing. But they're painting everybody with the same brush. All the doctors, all the people that can write scripts, they're all painted with the same brush. Just like politicians, just like people who run senior programs. They paint everybody with the same brush. That's not the way to do it.
No.
People need to stop demonizing these folks. And people that need help, stigma, the people that need help with medication, the people that need help staying in their home, the people that need help with their food. This is all rising to the top now.
And let me tell you where SACRI is on this. So in our advocacy efforts, we worked very hard in this last session to increase the eligibility on the Medicare Savings Program, which is good for our older adults, but we also supported legislation that created more funding for better workforce in long-term care, right? Our work in long-term care and nursing home care is important, right? We need nursing homes. We need good nursing homes. We need CNAs and people who are dedicated to this work. We need the visiting nurses who go into homes to help people. And so it's part of that issue, right? If we give a person a script and just send them away to go back to their lonely house without the supports, we get essentially what we pay for, right?
Right,
So
exactly.
we have to pay for those professional services. We have to develop our workforce. We have to support the nursing homes. We can't, demonizing people in 2026 is, in my view, a fool's errand. All right, because I can demonize anyone.
Right.
It serves absolutely no purpose.
Right.
And what it does is it drives a wedge between us. And what we need to get back to, and I'm going to say this to my brothers and sisters in the nonprofit world and my brothers and sisters in government, I'm a 30-year state employee, retired state employee. I answered the phone at the governor's office. I worked in the judiciary. I dealt with the public every day. And I went in and I did the best job I could. So let me say this to my brothers and sisters who are out there in the workforce. We got to stop with the email, stop with the texting, and we have to get our boots on the ground and we have to start talking to people again. And we can be part of solving some of this isolation and some of this separation and wedges. We have to get back to talking to one another again, John.
Very well said. Very well said. And the other thing people have to realize, that the people that work for these state agencies, you are a service industry.
Yes, you are.
If Carol Costa calls up and Carol Costa needs direction on where to go for the problems that Carol Costa has, then that person on the other end of the phone needs to be polite, and you're a service industry, and point them in the right direction. The issue of going around in circles only makes it worse for that person who needs an answer on whether to get prescription drugs, whether to get food, whether to get housing, or pay their utilities. And they get so frustrated that that's when we see a suicide occur.
Yes. Bad things happen when people don't pay attention to their fellow human beings.
Right.
And
Right.
so put the judgment aside, put the demonization aside, put all of that aside, and just deal with the people that you deal with every single day. And
Yeah.
that, and that's what I get up and try to do that every day.
All right, we're going to take another break.
Okay.
You're watching Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. We'll be right back with Carol Ann Costa after these messages.
And now back to Recovery TV with your host, John J. Tassoni Jr. Recovery TV is made possible by our supporting sponsors and our title sponsor, Kodak. Now, here's John and today's guest.
Welcome back to Recovery TV, and I'm your host, John Tassoni. Carol Ann Costa's in the house with the Senior Agenda Coalition. So welcome, and thank you for all you do for us seniors, older adults.
Older adults.
So what do you got?
Hey, I'll tell you what we got. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. My YouTube channel is in its infancy, but we're getting there. We have a website. It's very easy. It's the acronym, sacri.org. I have a blog. I try to keep up with timely news every day, and a newsletter monthly.
And 2026, what do you got on the agenda?
An affordability agenda. We want to help seniors. Now you have me saying seniors. We have a program for older adults so that we can look at transportation, housing,
Medication.
Medicare savings program. We want to bump that up. We also want to make sure that we can also do the circuit breaker property tax. Get those things. So we have a robust affordability and legislative calendar ahead of us. And I just want to end with something positive, if you don't mind.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I'll tell you what encouraged me greatly in the last few days. There's a group of Buddhist monks who began a walk from Fort Worth, Texas to Washington, D.C. And I saw it, and they were walking. And now every day I see these posts where Americans are coming out of their homes to meet these monks on this walk. They have a little dog that they rescued in India. His name is Aloka, who accompanies them. He has a perfect little heart on the top of his head. And they're walking this for peace. And you know what? That's how we reconnect.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's greatly appreciated you come on. I'm with you 110%. Next week, Tom Brittle will be in the house. Tom wrote a book about suicide. He'll be my guest. Also coming up next is Kodak Live, a fully integrated system Folks, if you see something, say something. We'll see you next week.